Trainfest 2011 with Alan Houtz. Alan is the president of the North American Prototype Modelers, and NAPM is a club here in the Milwaukee area. And we were fortunate enough earlier this week to get a tour of this unbelievable club layout. And before we talk about the layout, Alan, tell us what NAPM is and a little bit of the history.
Okay, North American Prototype Modelers started out 35 years ago by a small group of guys who wanted basically to build the best railroad club in America. That's the mission statement. The space you see in the layout started out underneath Southgate Shopping Center, which was Milwaukee's first big shopping center. We got some space there 35 years ago, and that space, when they walked in, way before my time, consisted of 1950s era's Christmas decorations and a single 40-watt light bulb hanging down from the middle of the space. So they had to do everything from cleanup to the wiring to the prep work of the space before they did any bench work even or anything close to a layout. It was almost 10 years just getting the space ready to accept a layout. So there's been a lot of work in there by a lot of people over the years. I think this year we'll celebrate our 35th anniversary.
Congratulations. That's really exciting. Now the layout itself, you guys have built there's a waiting area and there's even like a depot inside, and then of course the layout itself. How many members are in the club now?
Currently 72. We're up quite a bit from about 25 when I started. Members have 24/7 access. It's a keyed facility, so if you're a third shift worker and want to go down at 3 o'clock in the morning and runs trains, you can do that. And we focus a lot on membership amenities. We have a dues structure. Part of the other mission statement was if you want to play, you have to pay. So we have a monthly dues structure. We're very well funded, so we don't have any squabbles over financials. And it's a really good group of fellas. Everybody gets along, and in a club dynamic, there really isn't anything more important than that.
Well, I know when we visited the club, there were probably 10 members or so that were there operating the layout, and great people, did a lot to give us some background. So let's walk around the railroad a little bit. Let's start, when you come in the front door, holy cow, the first thing you see is the rendition of the Omaha Union Station and the train shed. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, that was started by a fellow by the name of Ron Morales, and Ron had a crazy idea that we could build a railroad station out of Lego blocks. And everybody thought he was nuts, but he started doing it, and believe it or not, it actually started to look pretty good. We have photos of the actual prototypical structure that we used as a go-by, and it's still there. So you can, I believe you can look them up on the internet, and we've had people who visit the facility, so even the interior of the model is almost dead on to the prototype structure. We ran into a little trouble with the Lego people because we couldn't get enough whites. So we're actually painting blue and yellow and red Legos, and it gave us the unintended benefit of the different shadings you'd get when you use that much marble. The castings and some of the heads and so forth is on architectural soap. The windows are clear plastic with architectural chart tape in it, so there's some 60s and 70s era modeling techniques that nobody does anymore that are in that model.
Now it's also got a full interior, right?
That's right. Right down to the newspapers that the boys are selling outside, which are actual editions of 1942 newspaper that were shot down to HO scale by some computer folks that we have as members.
Boy, it's incredible. Now everything, of course, is lit there as well. And
that's right.
The
interior of the station is lit. Even the chandeliers are scratch built to match the original lighting fixtures. And we can flip the switch, turn all the lights in the station and the train shed on, and then drop the lighting in that so we have a night shot.
Wow. Now that is a 12-track lead too, right?
That's right.
And you guys have named passenger trains all the way across there. It looks really impressive.
Yeah.
So as we come out of the station, and one of the first things you come to is an area with a brewery, and there's some other kind of a downtown type area or heavy industrial type area.
Right.
One thing too that I noticed, almost all the structures on the layout have interiors, and Weber's a multi-story building, and as you look inside there, every floor has material, looks like something in the manufacturing process, so really impressive.
An architect built that model. That's another nice thing about us. We have people from all walks of life, from janitors to lawyers to surgeons, but that all gets left at the door, and when we get downstairs, we're all just modelers.
Now, one of the newest sections on the layout is as you come out of that city scene and you start to wind your way through some of the mountainous area with a big snow shed that was scratch built, and that whole peninsula. Tell us a little bit about that area of the layout.
Okay. That, for a long time, was what you call Plywood Central, which is what our layouts start out like. We got all the bench work and the track is laid, but there's nothing on there. And we couldn't get a good dynamic going for a long time of what should go there, that everybody agreed on more or less. And we have the Great Plains, as you've seen. We have urban areas, and we have some rolling hills and gentle areas. And I kind of wanted a mountain scene, and since I was president at the time, I sort of drove that a little bit. And I'm a Western Railroad modeler. The Southern Pacific's one of my favorites, and I just thought a snow shed would really be great.
Yep.
So maybe I exercised a little more influence than I should have, but the idea caught on, and the shed itself, it evokes Southern Pacific to me, but it's actually built to Great Northern standards.
Really?
And that is a scratch-built structure, okay? Dave Karkowski also did that. And as you can see, I mean, as you look through the side where the open doors are, those are individual resin castings where he built a master right down to the bolt head detail, cast the individual sections out of resin, and then assembled the whole in place on the layout.
Now the scenery in that section is pretty spectacular as well. I mean,
Yeah.
all the way from the rock faces all the way down.
Yeah, there were about 3 dozen different rock molds that we used, many of them homemade. Some of them came from as far south as Birmingham, where they have a lot of coal seams and iron ore, and the guys would go out, friends of mine would go out on a Sunday with a bucket of latex and cheesecloth, and lay up some latex on a rock face, little cheesecloth, a little more latex, let it dry and peel it off, and you have a rock mold. So we had rock molds that were like 1.5 to 2 feet long. You fill that up with molding plaster and up over the basic hard shell, let it dry, pull it off, rock face. And even the scraps we saved, because the talus that you see, the rock fall down the side, that's all left over from the molding process. It's all little pieces. And there are probably 3,000 or 4,000 timberline scenery trees on that section of the layout.
Well, it's really an eye-catching part. So we come out of that area, and there's like a fall scene area as well.
Yeah, as you go around the corner, the mountain's on the other side, and that kind of transitions a little bit from western mountain scenery to more of the eastern, something you'd see like in West Virginia in the mountainous areas down there. The trees change from the firs to the more the deciduous trees, something you'd see more in the Midwest or the eastern part of the country. And you've seen the fire perch up there and all that. That also was driven almost entirely by one guy. He wanted a waterfall, and you saw what he did. That was entirely his work, and that water is silicone that's been drawn out by hand to get the action in there. And that's a work in progress. As you can see, the trees stop, and we're kind of working our way down the hard shell. Our objective, you couldn't tell it from all the tunnels we have, but maintenance on a layout, any layout is tough, and you want to have as little hidden track as you can. So we're trying to get our mountains with as little hidden track as possible.
So another neat spot is a small engine servicing facility.
That's Ottawa. Ottawa is roughly the halfway point in the layout. There's a yard there. Trains are sometimes broken up and resorted there. And that servicing facility is a smaller one. And what would happen there is the crews would maybe change, okay? Locomotives would be taken off, the trains run down there and serviced. And then take back and put on while the yard switcher's doing his work on your train. The crews are up there getting gas, getting sand, getting whatever they need, or maybe hopping off to jump the next train, going back the way they came so they can go home. So that's a medium size, and of course you can see we made it Athernville for you.
It looked really good. So now, coming out of that area is probably the most famous part of the layout. It's been featured many times, and we get over to the water level area.
Yeah, that's the river line, which is what we call it, and that's the first aisle that was fully scenic. Okay, the water effects you see there are Woodland Scenics water pellets, and if you talk to 7 modelers, you'll get 7 ideas of what makes the best water. Okay, but we use Woodland Scenics water pellets there because it was done 4 feet at a time, and the Woodland Scenics water pellets, you can take a heat gun and make that stuff soft again, so we don't have seams in our water. At the Highway Department in Grandview, we've got a member that's a member of the 187th Vehicle Club, and as you've seen, we've got a pretty wide variety of vehicles on the layout, from the Athern taxis and buses all the way down to resin kits and even some etched metal work. And vehicles run from, I believe you can find your Model A on there if you look hard enough, all the way up to the 50s, 60s, 70s, because that's our era, immediate post-war, World War II, through just before Amtrak in 1971. So we've got a guy who his special love is vehicle work, and he has built us a lot of trucks, cars, whatnot, and a layout that size will swallow a tremendous amount of vehicles. You know, even to minimum density, you don't realize how many there are, to just get it look like it's even lightly traveled.
Now, coming out of the river line, comes into a mining type camp. Tell us a little bit about that area.
Okay, the coal mine is a fine scale miniatures kit, and addition to just trains going on and off the railroad is through traffic, we also have our local freights. We have industries on the layout, the coal mine's one, okay? So the local trains will come out and a guy will shove a bunch of hoppers into that mine empty. Then the next session they'll be loaded, so that guy, he takes the full hoppers out of the mine and they go off to the power plant, okay? Several coal mines on the layout. I don't remember the names all, I'm off on hand. After 10 years, I still have to look at the signs. That's how big the layout is. So I don't have all my locations memorized, but in addition to the through trains, which are a lot of fun, we have guys who like to do the peddler work and pick up empties and, or pick up loads and set out empties and do the work that the everyday freight trains that ran through town did.
So tell us, there's in that same area, there's a company mine, company row houses.
Can't have a coal mine without a company town. And that's also the work of one guy. Roy Chichinski took that mountain over, and he has been working for about 3 or 4 years on that. And he has done everything from the cemetery to the authentic company houses. You can see they're almost all alike, just very minor changes that maybe the residents would make. And he's got a bus service in there, a general store, and that's to represent where the coal miners would have lived.
Sure.
And there's even, if you go down and look at that double main by the bridge, there's a little flag stop station there where the local, you could go down and get on the train and go into town.
Oh boy, now we're just about ready to come back to the very end of the layout, almost where we started, and there's an area there that is good for Bears fans. Tell us a little about that.
That's Fleming Heights. Being in southeastern Wisconsin, we've got a lot of cross-the-border activity with our friends in Illinois. We've probably got a dozen Illinois members that are either full-time or associate, just depending on how often they can get up and see us. And of course you can't, I think if you looked, you might have seen a Green Bay sign on one of the other buildings. So that rivalry is perpetual, of course, but yeah, we had a couple of guys get in there and do the tenements. Those are Walthers tenement kits, and they've been personalized up with the laundry and the vehicles, and that's kind of like the wrong side of the tracks neighborhood, where all the working folk would have lived and hung out their laundry on the back porch just like they do.
Well, boy, Alan, it's a really spectacular layout, and got to give you and your members a lot of thanks and much appreciation for giving us an opportunity to have some one-on-one time with the layout. We were super impressed. Wish you all the guys the best, and thank you so much for your time.
Well, you're welcome. Just keep making us all that great stuff.
We will do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.